Hey folks, this video is brought to you by RivianStories.com. Please join us there to stay up to date with all the latest Rivian news and chat with other Rivian owners. And if you need a t-shirt or sweatshirt, please check out our shop. Thanks so much for watching here on YouTube. Please do like and subscribe to help us get the word out about Rivian. So let me say, it's good to see you guys again, like 4 days in a row. What a wild ride. Obviously, we got a great email from RJ this morning at reversing course with the price increase, going back to the original price that you had when you ordered all pre-March 1st, including re-onboarding people who canceled, reinstating their order, and all that kind of stuff. So we just want to get on and very quickly just kind of give some highlights, say what we want to say, but we are on a time crunch. But we just wanted to at least get this much out there because we know a lot of you have been listening and with us from everywhere. So someone take it away with just top of mind reaction.
I just want to start by saying Jimmy's back.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think it's a good place to start, in terms of Jimmy. Tell us what the last 36 hours has been for you.
An emotional roller coaster. I'm exhausted. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you. Nikki was the emotional one when we got the original email, and then reading. I had to have Nikki read the email to me this morning because I didn't want to read it. I'm beat. I'm tired. I haven't slept well. We have not just we have given so much to the community, but the community we built. The thing that brought us all together was about ready to disappear for a large portion of us. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that wouldn't have kept us together, or that wouldn't keep us apart rather, but all of that changed extremely quickly over that decision. And then to have that all brought back partly because of what we put together on March 1st, mm-hmm. It as crazy as it sounds, and I'm extremely thankful. I honestly don't know what else to say. I'm probably without crying. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm beat. I'm tired. I'm excited.
Yeah.
For the YouTube crowd that wouldn't make sense to set that up. Last night we had another live chat with our RS backers, Rivian Stories backers, and Jimmy just sat it out. And we're like, that's fine, man. Sit it out because none of us have slept. It's just been crazy. And to Jimmy's point, we realize that this is a vehicle, but what we have been working towards for so many hours every week has been, building this community. And yeah, that was a heavy blow to take. Crap, all this work we've done, now just done, vanished overnight because trust has been broken. Not just on our behalf, but on thousands of others that are on the site. So that's the roller coaster we're talking about, not just a vehicle. It was that we've been trying to build this community. Skylar, you haven't talked yet. Top of mind reaction.
Tremendous response by Rivian. Matter of fact, one of the many calls that I got this morning was from a Rivian pre-order holder who used to work in crisis management. And his feedback was, executed near perfectly. Mm-hmm. So took complete ownership, addressed the issue, even potentially beyond what it would take to make things whole. Mm-hmm. And bottom line is did a phenomenal job from a crisis management perspective. The only thing that I will add is I know that this got people all the way back. For some, mm-hmm. I'm not there yet because mm-hmm. the one thing that I need to know and I need to understand is specific steps that Rivian is going to take to make sure that something like this does not happen again. Mm-hmm. And it's the how they're going to accomplish that mm-hmm. I still need before I really start building back that trust.
Yeah. that was one thing that I wrote down here is like trust. And I keep switching screens because obviously this is on the fly. And if I come back to the actual like email here, probably my favorite part of the email, I mean, it sounds like RJ was talking again, which is awesome. Earlier this week, we announced pricing increases that broke the trust we have worked to build with you. And the reason I say that's not my favorite line, but my favorite is because I'm so glad that in one sentence, RJ got to the heart of the matter. Just broken trust. Mm-hmm. We said last night, even if they redacted this, it'd still take time for many to get back on board. And that's totally fair. And everyone, what I hope is everyone will get back at their own speed. And we do realize that trust, many people want to kind of hear what will change to make sure that this can happen again. And some of us are still blown away that this still got through so many layers of decision makers to happen, and that it fell so far off center of what would be acceptable to the community. And we all have a lot of ideas of how that gap can be bridged between decision makers and the community. And we would love to hear about that. It's for sure a huge step in the right direction. I mean, 100%. I mean, RJ knocked it out of the park with writing this. Huge step in the right. I mean, I love how they're letting people reinstate. That's huge. That went above and beyond that. Perhaps if we were negotiating, that we didn't even start with that one in there. But there's still work to be done. And that's already been one of the things on the Rivian Stories channel. A lot of people saying, like, this is great. There's still work to be done with me. And that's fine. I would expect that Rivian knows that for sure.
And this is going to be potentially a controversial one to some of our viewers. But I feel like Rivian left some money on the table. They could have justified a reasonable price increase. Mm-hmm. And I think the community would have accepted it had they approached things in the right way. Mm-hmm. And, that's why their response of setting pricing back for everybody to where it was and basically eating their legitimate supply chain, labor, their cost increases in these vehicles and doing it all the way to March 1st, I feel like that's why it was a stronger response than I ever expected.
Mm-hmm. I kind of want to stop you, Skylar, because I feel like you were the one who said, Rivian doesn't charge enough for their vehicles in the first place. I don't want you starting or tempting anyone to send out a third email. Okay, let's just be happy where we're at. But I again, I agree. Kyle, to your earlier point though, right, about like sort of what I thought was a good transition into like where do we go from here, right? Like to me, I'm really optimistic. I was optimistic on the call last night. Right. I was probably the one saying, I think Rivian's going to do something. I just feel it in my bones. It's interesting. We've gone through several iterations on our feelings towards RJ, right? Like I remember us talking early on in this adventure, right, saying how RJ had to let the reins go. I kind of did my own 180, right, on that now, where I feel like I kind of want RJ in every single decision or every piece that comes out from here on forward. I don't know if I'm alone in that, but like through the last few days, we've all agreed, and I think most would still continue to agree, that RJ has a good heart, right? He's in the right place. He wants to build the right type of company, which is the company that we all bought into. But the issue, obviously the finances over the last few days, right, and the financial impact certainly weighed a toll on RJ's decision. But I also feel like RJ cares more about his community than he did about the financials. And to me, that just says I'm very optimistic about where Rivian can go from here. And I think the negative impact of what took place over the last 2 days can steer Rivian onto a course that's better than they were 2 days ago. right before that announcement. So, I mean, me personally, I'm super pumped about it. I just hope RJ stays and keeps it close to his chest in terms of making sure that it's in line with his original vision and what he built this community on.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot to respond to there, and it's good points. And I think that part of the struggle with RJ is like all the communication that comes out. We're like, was this RJ or was this someone else? You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
we said that last night. Like, this wasn't RJ. This is RJ. This is not. It's interesting, and of course, we're making that decision just almost based on our own made up view of RJ, because none of us really know him personally. Like, we've perhaps met him, but
well, even like when we talk about, it's not just through written verbiage at this point, right? Like we were just talking about it with his interview with Sandy, right? Like, God, this guy is the most patient man on the planet.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah.
And to me, it just, again, it shows who he is, how much he cares about his kids, his family, his mission, right, in life, which started when he was a kid. I mean, it's just, you know,
the reason we
I think
feel
I'm
like
getting
we
a
know
good
RJ,
idea about who he is.
Yeah, the reason we feel like we know him is because we see him on these interviews. He's somewhat of a, celebrity to us for sure. And you pay attention to all the little things, and you can get clues to who he is. And you've definitely, it's hard to fake the amount of like humility and grace that he holds.
Exudes.
That is a part of his heart. That brings me kind of towards my other favorite part about the email that we're going to get on to, like, where do we go now? There's a road ahead of us. The choice we all have to make now is like whether we get back on that road or not. You know what I mean? As far as reinstating cancellations and all that kind of stuff. And the other thing that I was going to say is one of the things we talk about a lot internally is that we make mistakes. It's part of building something complex. The key is to learn from them and address them when they're made. It's how we grow. We made a mistake in how we approached our pricing changes, and what is important now is that we fix it. Besides the whole trust sentence, that was my favorite one there, just really owning it all. And to what someone said in the past 20 minutes, failure, if you learn from it, only makes you way better. Failure is a very underrated deal. I mean, it's just a requirement. So I do believe absolutely that this will make Rivian stronger, not without a huge cost, as Skylar mentioned. Measure twice, cut once from now on, especially with big decisions like this, because it just costs so much. But I absolutely, with that, as long as RJ's heart keeps coming through and just keep leading from that heart, think that they'll come out on the other side of this way stronger. It'll be a better Rivian. It'll be a Rivian more aligned to the core character of RJ and the people he's attracted. Everyone does make mistakes. Every company makes mistakes. So personally, absolutely, I'm back on the train, and it will take time. You have doubts as far as like they have work to do, but we all have work to do. Most of you haven't seen my personal Instagram or my personal bio, but it always basically says that all three of my kids look like my wife. That's a good thing. And then the other thing I say is amazed by grace, because I am. I mean, every great story is one of redemption and grace and growth, and that's why I'm willing to stay on it. You know what I mean? And so I just encourage everyone, be wise and know that stuff has to change, but a lot of times, like, growth and a company and a story does still follow like the character and the heart of a person or organization, and this is as good as I could expect for today. You know what I mean? That's all we have is the evidence of today, and so here we go.
What would go extremely far and continue this train in the right direction is communication. Tuesday when we got that email, I was pumped that I had an email from Rivian. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and then you got another one 2 hours later.
Yeah. And then unfortunately I read the email and I hated it. The July email from RJ, which we had just talked about on Tuesday, the communication up to March 1st was not indicative of, or it was not what it should have been coming from July to then. But from this point on, they have got to communicate, get out in front of everything, be more transparent, get a voice of the community member, like a non-voting board member in those meetings. So you guys have, so Rivian has a pulse of what the community is. I'm not saying we are the community, but get somebody that is in a community that is a true Rivian fan that knows what's going on.
And I would actually say along with that, even simpler is open up lines of communication where people are at. Rivian, be involved in Rivian stories. And I know that there's people on there kind of like lurking and keeping tabs, but that's not communication. We're not asking for you guys to look over our shoulder. We're asking for you to communicate, to be involved in the community. And we have had several people, I'm not going to toot our own horn, but we've had now hundreds of messages, both private and just post on Rivian Stories, like saying thank you for building this community where we could get the word out to people. You know what, people saying like, you guys should each get like Rivians for life for your whole family. And I would agree with that for sure. But like, you know, last night on the call, Jimmy, we talked about this a lot, about communication. And it's not just that we want blog posts, although that'd be great. It's just that communication is a conversation. It's not publishing. What we want is a conversation. Quit publishing stuff every once in a while and let's have a talk. It's kind of what I'm saying. And let's do that on places that are already built, that we have spent thousands and thousands of hours and dollars building without anything in return. Like, we've done this all for you. Can we let's have a talk here?
Yeah. Just to add to that, you know, we were talking earlier as well as, you know, I work for a growth stage startup, right? And my startup, we have a board essentially of clients, right? Where we take a client on, we work with them for 6 months, a year. If things, you know, whatever the experience is, we basically randomly sample those group of customers and we have them join our client advisory board. And basically every move we make, from a new product, from a new business decision, it actually runs through this advisory board. Rivian, to me, needs something like that. You know, they need people who can just give genuine feedback from various points of view before they do, in my opinion, anything, to make sure they understand what the customer perspective is, right? And the impact on a customer. And, you know, even when we talk about the tent, I know there's a lot of discussion about that tent. Like, Yakima couldn't even sell this tent, and now they just increased the price by $600 or whatever it was, right? Like, even that, like someone saying, no one's going to do that, right? It could probably help them close the gap, you know, in terms of like, what would customers pay for? Right? I've been saying forever, I'll say it again, I want my gear guard Gary to wear a Hawaiian t-shirt. You want me to spend $10 on a Hawaiian t-shirt? I'll do it. Right?
Yeah.
Give me the ability to do that. If I want my Rivian to sing Christmas carols at Christmas, charge me $50. I'll pay it. I want it to dance.
Right. And how
I want the lights to change.
And how you get Matho to know that is a community where you can have this, like, we have the ability to polls, like those of us who are on Rivian Stories know that we have polls. Imagine if someone from Rivian, and we know they're from Rivian, we got Jill from Rivian here, and she posts a poll. If we were to raise prices, you know, like, they'd have votes. Now, obviously, that's not going to be reality. I mean, people, the way they fill out polls and what they actually vote with their feet can sometimes be misaligned, but they would get some data that they could interpret and make, you know what I mean? Just with a quick poll. And obviously that's a huge decision that would need more than a poll on Rivian Stories. But as far as dressing Gary in a Hawaiian shirt, that's perfect for a poll. Like, let's go. Skylar, I think you've been
I just mean real quick, I want to finish on that, is what I mean by that is freemium is the way to go in the world, right? Yeah. Like, we keep talking about things like OTAs and what that means. Like, let people choose and become a software company, right? Like, give like microtransactions, Rivian. I'm speaking to you. Microtransactions, you will close this gap in a heartbeat. The only other thing I would say is thank you to you guys. We know people, we've known for months, if not longer, that people at Rivian pay attention to your videos. Me, as someone who doesn't appear quite often here, I just want to say from the community, I feel like you guys helped move the decision back. I really do, sincerely. So I thank you guys for how many hours you do put into this. And I think it's well received and appreciated by the community. So thanks.
Well, thanks, Matt. You know, if we're all living our lives as if it's like a story or a movie that we're creating, this was a great page that RJ just wrote that he could be proud to share with his kids someday. You know what I mean? This is the mistake we made. This is how we responded to it, even if it meant that it was going to crumble. But we went for what we really thought was the right thing, regardless of the outcome. And I think that he can absolutely be proud to share that story with his kiddos forever. And that's also the kind of page that movies are made of. You know what I mean? Those kind of moments right there. Way to go, RJ and Team Rivian, everyone who rallied around him to say, yep, that's the way we're going. So good job. Thanks, guys, for hopping on. We will not see you soon. I have to get back to work. I cannot have any more. I'm serious. I'm going to edit this. I'm going to put it out there. And we're not meeting on Monday, Skylar and Jimmy. We might just let this video ride for about a week and a half, because I am so behind work, but that is okay. Thanks, guys. All right, guys, thanks for watching. This is to be continued, so please do subscribe so you don't miss the next one. In the meantime, please do join us over at rivianstories.com. This really is a phenomenal community. It's the community for true Rivian fans and owners. You'll find a ton of great interaction and information, and you can even pick yourself up a t-shirt or sweatshirt. Thanks.